What is the nature of human desire? What is it us humans desperately search for? Is it love, money, fame, validation, revenge? Well, in the case of Shintaro Yagasaki, a 27-year-old man with a job he hates and a relationship he doesn't want, that certain wish is to escape his mundane existence and live an exciting, action-packed life. Fortunately, his wish is fulfilled as frogs suddenly start raining down from the sky. Wait, what the fuck? Jagaaaaaan with 6 A's cause someone thought it would be very funny to name it this way is, I can assure you, one of the strangest stories you'll ever come across. The manga is written by Muneyuki Kaneshiro, most well known for the hit football shonen series Blue Lock, and combines elements of over-the-top action, philosophy and the incel experience in very interesting ways. Just like the average Marvel fan's room, it isn't clean, nor pretty, but has a certain charm to it that makes you not be able to look away. Back to the story, these adorable amphibians are called frenzied frogs, and if one is ever to enter your body, you are at risk of transforming into a grotesque creature that reflects your deepest and darkest desires the moment you are faced with an unpleasant and difficult situation. Turning into one of these monstrosities goes like the saying, once you go black, you never go back, meaning you lose all control over your mind and body and need to be immediately killed. This is exactly what happens to Yagasaki, except with him being the main character, he manages to keep control over his new superpowers and is able to change from human to monster at will, this making him a half-fractured human. Sadly, his girlfriend isn't so lucky, so Yagasaki has to kill her. Afterwards, Yagasaki does what any other normal person would in his situation. He keeps his girlfriend's head in his fridge and swears to make it his life's mission to find a way to bring her back to life and die in an epic gamer way doing so.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy. You get your goddamn ugly ass on.
Over the course of his goofy adventures, Yagasaki meets other half-fractured humans, goes to Disneyland, questions the purpose of his existence, and is accompanied by a talking owl that only gives him the best of advice. But wait, because Yagan is also full of exciting side plots, like the one about a body swap situation or the one about a serial sex offender. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that we should move on. Though what makes Yagan so strange is that its insanity doesn't only lie in the plot, but also in the details and in the scene-to-scene experience. You can go from an introspective and philosophical scene that makes you rethink your current life situation and satisfaction with your own existence, to one where innocent people are getting brutally killed by Amazon employees, and it would actually be quite tame for the series' standards. This is not a manga for the faint of heart, that I can comfortably say. Still, what makes up the soul of the story and keeps it from being a huge roller coaster-like mess is, ironically, the metaphorical hole in each character's heart. Everyone in Yagan feels like something is missing from their lives, and seeing the different ways in which the characters try to gain true happiness is very interesting. You could even say that Yagan explores Carl Jung's idea of the shadow self through these half-fractured humans. Yagasaki is also one of the better protagonists I've seen in a manga. It takes him just long enough to go from a cowardly beta into a badass killing machine for it to feel natural, satisfying and not rushed. What I usually hate about characters like this is that once they become super powerful, they usually also become two-dimensional and cool just for the sake of being cool. This is not the case with Yagasaki, as he still remains very flawed, makes mistakes and is vulnerable at times, making him feel human and thus much more interesting and sympathetic. Though don't let this more serious analysis give you the false impression that Yagan's cast doesn't share the same weirdness as its plot, something that's perfectly illustrated by the cast of villains, which is made up of A very rich and narcissistic megalomaniac who just also happens to be bald, the perfect example of watch out whom you bully in high school, cause they'll end up breaking into your house, stuffing golf balls covered in mud into your mouth and melting your entire fucking body, and an insane mass murderer who also has a very gay dynamic with the main character. But just what do you expect from Muneyuki Kaneshiro, the genius behind
The time to dream is now human. Fall on myself. My emotional, I'm falling in love.
I rest my case. This guy is truly one of the greatest artistic minds our culture has ever been blessed with. Where the manga's cast really lacks is in its female characters, all of which barely have a real personality and function just as plot devices for the male ones. Thankfully, Muneyuki's problem-solving skills are truly unparalleled, as this problem is not present in Blue Lock, since he made sure to make all of the main characters of the male gender and also homosexual. Although there is definitely nothing wrong with that, which is also a sentiment that my Blue Lock enthusiast friend deep down surely agrees with, even if he doesn't want to admit it. On a more serious note, the art in Jagaaaaaan is some of the best you'll ever see in any comic. At first, the facial expressions are more on the uncanny side, but the art style quickly develops into something very clean and appealing to the eye, yet at the same time unbelievably detailed. This evolution is perfectly shown by Yagasaki's many power-ups, which only become more and more breathtaking as the chapters go on. Now, with having gone over every other major aspect of the series, only one remains yet to be discussed. Is the ending any good? Well, here I have to make a terrible confession. I haven't read the ending yet. There are like 5 chapters left for me to read, but for some reason translating them is taking forever. I would just buy the last volume from my local library, but none have it and I couldn't find anything on the internet outside of some really shitty fan translations. Still, from what I've read, the last arc has been quite solid, although with a couple of hiccups along the way. In conclusion, I would compare Jagaaaaaan to The Incredibles roller coaster, as in, you can easily lose yourself in all of the excitement, craziness and twists of the experience and have a blast. Yet beyond all of that wackiness lies an actual story. Except that when it comes to Jagaaaaaan, you shouldn't try to read it if your Twitter bio looks anything like this. Now that I think more about it, this was probably a really goofy comparison. Now, if you are interested in reading Jagaaaaaan after all of this, I would suggest giving it maybe somewhere around 20 chapters. As for me, the series definitely got better the more it kept going, and some of the dialogue at the start is very edgy, like how Yagasaki says shoot them up for like 30 times in the first chapter. It got a little bit cringy, not gonna lie. Anyway, if you've made it this far, I am obligated by the laws of YouTube to ask you to please subscribe and share the video, as making it took quite some effort and it would keep me motivated to continue doing some more content and not disappear for 2 entire years. Thank you and goodbye.
When I was 10 years old, my goofy uncle tried to get me to touch his weenie doodle. My mom caught him and beat him with a pan. I created an explosive bomb and put it in my sister's lunchbox and blew her to smithereens.